I'm Ruth Hansom and this is the Great British Chef's Signature Series. I joined the Princess of Shoreditch about 2 months ago. My dishes are quite modern, but they use a lot of classical techniques. I think it's really important to use things that are in season, so our menu changes quite often. This is a really nice warming dish, obviously with the runny egg yolk. It's really appetising, it's really nice for vegetarians, it's a bit different. So, you know, it's just really simple ingredients used at their best. I think it's always quite nice to have a pasta dish on there. I think as a nation we really love pasta. The majority of cooking is getting the timing correct. When you're in a big kitchen, everyone needs to work together so that everyone's bringing everything up at the same time to the same table. So yeah, timing is super important. Hi, I'm Ruth Hansom. I'm head chef at the Princess of Shoreditch, and today I'm making watercress ravioli. There's going to be a wild mushroom fricassee, watercress stem foam, and some Jerusalem artichoke crisps. First of all, we're going to make our filling for the ravioli. So to do that, we're going to just pick the leaves from the stems, but I'm going to keep the stems because I'm going to infuse those in the sauce that we're making. I really like this dish. It's got a whole egg yolk in the middle of the ravioli, which kind of acts as a bit of a sauce as well, and I think it just makes it quite special. I'm going to just keep a few of these little leaves to garnish the top. With watercress, get things that have got the nice big stalks on there. They've got so much flavour. Don't have the little pick things that you get in the supermarket, you know. Next, I'm just going to roughly chop a few button mushrooms to go in our sauce with our watercress stalks. Any mushrooms work for this dish, you know, if you're using other mushrooms and you have some trim, also throw that in. And then I'm also going to take some onion. My ethos is using things when they're at their best and when they're being grown with lots of love and care. It makes our job easier. We don't really have to do so much to it. You know, there's some fantastic growers now. We have got a lot of different things. Lots of growers are kind of using polytunnels and greenhouses to really get that environment correct. You know, we've got wasabi and like lots of different things, so I think we can do as much as we can to support the small businesses. Otherwise, we're going to be left with buying things from other countries. So I've just got a few small dice of onion, which I'm going to serve for our mix, and the rest I'm just going to roughly chop and put in the mirepoix. So this is just then going to go in our sauce, so it doesn't need to be perfect, this bit. And then a clove of garlic, I'm going to cut it in half. It's going to go in there as well. So I'm just going to blanch the watercress. Take this out and then I'll put it in some ice water. So I've just put this into ice water to chill it down so we can make our mix. I'm just going to leave it to one side. So next we're going to get onto the sauce. So we've got our watercress stalks, mushrooms and some onion, which we're going to sweat down, start the base of our sauce. So my mirepoix is sweated in there. I'm going to add some Madeira. So now the Madeira is reduced by half, I'm going to add the cream and the vegetable stock. So now this has come to the boil, I'm going to remove it from the heat and we're going to cling film it and just let it infuse for about an hour. So next we're going to make our filling. We've got our watercress here that we blanched, and into that we're going to add some finely chopped onion, some lime zest. You can use lemon as well, it's just for a little bit of acidity. And then we've got our Lord of the Hundreds cheese. So I'm using Lord of the Hundreds because it's British cheese, similar to Pecorino. It's a raw used milk. It's got a little bit of acidic kind of nuts, and I think it works really well. Okay, so I'm just going to bind this with a little bit of mascarpone. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper and also some salt, and then we're just going to bind that together. It's going to take a little bit of working. You just want to keep working it until the mascarpone is really combined. You know, I like to try different restaurants all the time. I went to Fallow the other day, which was fantastic. It was really great. I love trying kind of Asian food and Thai food, so there's a place in Waterloo called Sticky Mango, because it's just things that I don't really normally do, and I think it's just quite nice and relaxed, but fantastic food. Okay, so this is all combined now. What we're going to do is press it into a ring. So this is going to be our filling for the pasta, which will sit the egg yolk inside as well. I'm going to flatten that round. It's all nice and the same level. So then I'm just going to leave these to one side while we roll out the pasta. Okay, so I've made a pasta dough here. I've done it in a food processor, so I have 100 grams of 00 flour, and to that I use 1 egg. I'm going to start with a little bit of flour. Not too much flour, but obviously you don't want it to stick either. So I'm just going to start by rolling this out so it's a thickness so we can get it through the machine. Yeah, I do find pasta quite therapeutic. I think it's something nice. It's not something you want to do if you're in a rush. I think it's quite nice to spend your time and give it a bit of love. Yeah, so it's really stretching the gluten, and you want to go through every number twice, as I said, so that it doesn't go back on itself. So I'm just going to keep going down the numbers. We're going to make our squares for our ravioli. If you've got any pasta that you're not using, just make sure you cling film it or backpack it, keep it somewhat airtight. So now we're going to start to build our ravioli. And then we're going to take our filling, try and keep the shape as much as possible. And then next we're going to put our eggs in. So I think the egg yolk, it adds a lot of richness to the dish. It kind of acts as a second sauce. So I'm going to use my hands because the shell can be quite sharp and you really don't want to break that yolk. And then we're going to just push a little dimple in the middle of our filling there and sit our yolk on top. And then I've got one more egg, which I just need the yolk for, which we're going to use to seal the pasta. Take a pastry brush and we're just going to brush around here where we want to seal the two pieces of pasta together. Next we're going to take our top pieces of pasta. I'm just going to stretch those over the top. Now the key to this bit is we don't really want to get any air inside, so we're really pushing the air out as we come to seal. It just helps the pasta cook evenly. You take this and just gently, to help me get a nicer shape, and then take this one, and then we're just going to cut it. And I've got a tray here just with some semolina on, which that's how I'm going to store my pasta. And then I'm just going to let these rest in the fridge for I'd say at least 20 minutes. So I'm just going to prep a few tips of tender stem broccoli. Just adds a bit of colour and a crunch to the dish. Just a bit smaller. And next I've got some Jerusalem artichokes, one of my favourite vegetables. So I'm just going to thinly slice the Jerusalem artichoke. I'm leaving the skin on. I really like the flavour, it's nice and earthy. I've just given them a wash. I definitely think Jerusalem artichoke is an underused vegetable. I think it would be great to get them in supermarkets and get people using them a bit more. Celeriac's there now, so who knows, potentially they're going to be there soon. So as you can see, super thin, you can kind of see through it, and I'm just going to deep fry them really quickly. Just going to pop them in. The fry's on about 140, so quite low, because we want them to cook and go crisp before they go brown. I'm just nudging them slightly while they're cooking to make sure they don't stick together. So I've taken the Jerusalem artichoke crisps out. As you can see, they're nice and light and golden, not dark brown. I'm just going to season them a little bit and we'll leave those to one side to garnish. So I've just got a little selection of wild mushrooms here. I guess use what you can find, what's in season. Maybe don't forage it unless you know what you're doing. So I've got some girolles here, some chanterelles, shimiji and pied de mouton. They don't really need too much doing to them. I don't really like to wash mushrooms. If there's any dirt on them, you can just use a pastry brush and just brush it off. These ones I'm just going to chop off the base. But I'm going to keep those quite long. And then we're just going to saute them all with a little bit of onion and some butter, obviously. It makes everything better. So we're going to start with rapeseed oil in the pan, just a little bit. I'm going to start with the more robust ones. So we've got some girolles and some of the shimijis. And then we'll finish with the chanterelle and the oyster, because they're quite soft, so they're just going to go in at the last minute. And then we want to be layering the seasoning with some black pepper. So in this pan we've got some celeriac purée, really easy. We just boiled some celeriac in some milk and then blended it with some cold butter. So as well we've got our sauce here that's been infusing, so we're going to pass that in a minute and then we'll just blend it with a hand blender to make it nice and airy. We're starting to get some colour on our mushrooms, so I'm going to add our pied de mouton. Just tearing these a bit. And then again, every time you add some more mushrooms, add a little bit more seasoning. So now I'm going to add our last little bit of onion in here. And then some nice butter. And then into this, I've got another little pan here. I'm going to add some butter ready to glaze our ravioli with when it comes out. So I'm also going to add a tiny bit of the water in there. So then we're just going to pop our ravioli into the water. Yeah, definitely. I think timing, you do have to learn it. Obviously, it's completely different when you cook at home. You know, things can be ready different times. Your family's not going to scream too much at you. But when you're in the kitchen, it's really important you don't let anybody else down within the team. Okay, so I'm just going to take my little bits of broccoli out, and that's going to go into the pan here. Make sure we're seasoning everything. So we're going to start to plate now. So I'm going to take my broccoli out. Got our nice little mushroom fricassee. I'm going to drain everything on here. We don't want too much butter going onto the plate. So we're going to start with our celeriac puree. I'm going to build up our nice little mushrooms. We've got our little bits of broccoli, a few of our artichoke crisps, just adding a little crunch. think you don't want a dish that's super soft, or alternately you don't want a dish that's really dry and hard. I think you need lots of different things. And then we're just going to have a few shavings of these, which is our Lord of the Hundreds cheese. It's quite a pungent part of the dish, so I think it's important just to have it in its fresh form as well. I've just got these little bits of watercress that we reserved, and then I'm going to take our ravioli out. It should be al dente, you want it to be a little bit firm, but not so firm that people are going to struggle to eat it. I'm just going to sit that in the middle there. And then the last thing we have to do is put the sauce on. Passed our watercress sauce through after it being infusing for an hour, and then I've just added a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar if it needs it, and then I'm using a hand blender to foam it up. And that's it. So we've got the watercress and egg yolk ravioli, celeriac puree, wild mushroom fricassee and Jerusalem artichoke crisp.